Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. So this was the 12th year of Hijrah not the 12th year of Hijrah, the 12th year of Prophethood in Dhul Hijjah, the month of Dhul Hijjah, the last month during the Hajj season basically, where the Prophet ﷺ now has met with these 12 men from Yathrib, and they are all Muslims after they had been given da'wah by those 6 who had met with the Prophet ﷺ before, and 5 of those 6 are here, so this is another 7 people. They came and they pledged allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ, and we read the allegiance, the pledge they gave. They will not commit any shirk, they will not steal, they will not commit zina, fornication, and they will not slander, and they will not disobey in what is good. And whoever does that, his reward is with Allah, and whoever falls into any of the sins, then his matter is with Allah. If Allah wants, He'll punish him. If He wants, He shall forgive him. And by the way, just a point, that is the aqidah, the belief of Ahl Sunnah. That we say about any sinner, someone who died upon Islam, but they committed sins, we say their matter is with Allah. If Allah wants, He will punish them and they deserve it because of their sins. And if Allah wants, He forgives, and that is out of His mercy. So this is, like we said, something great. Everything has changed now because the Prophet ﷺ finally, he has support from outside. Remember the travel he went to Ta'if to ask for help, and what happened? And all the other tribes he presented Islam to, and they came to Mecca for them to help him, but they refused. Allah brought for him the people of Madinah. And they, a small group, even though they have accepted Islam. They have accepted Islam. Not only have they accepted Islam, they have given him the pledge of allegiance that they are going to be good Muslims. They are going to be good Muslims. Now before that, just tracking back a bit, we mentioned how there's 2 tribes of the Aus and the Khazraj, the 2 tribes of Medina. The Arabs of Medina are Aus and Khazraj, and at the end they're all cousins. And how they used to fight in between them a lot. And you remember the 6 people who the Prophet ﷺ met first. They said, if there's someone who can actually join us, a people who are tired of fighting, it is you. And if that happens, you will be the most noble man in this world. Bu'ath, B-U-A-T-H in English, is a place very close to Medina. And that is where the great battle between the 2 tribes of Medina, Aus and Khazraj, happened. That is where the great battle between them happened. And a lot of them were killed. A lot of the people of Medina were killed. And the leader of the Aus at that time was the man called Khudayr, the father of Usayd ibn Khudayr. Usayd ibn Khudayr. And the leader of the Khazraj was Amr ibn Nu'man al-Bayadi. And we mentioned how the Khazraj, they had allied with the Jews Aisha radiallahu anha says in Sahih al-Bukhari, كان يوم بعاث يوما قدمه الله لرسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's very important in the context of everything. Again, this is happening in Medina in between them. The Prophet has nothing to do with it, but actually he has everything to do with it. Physically, it does not concern him. He was not there. They were fighting between themselves. He had his own challenges and problems in Mecca. Aisha says, the day of Bu'ath, the day when these two tribes, they fought, the great battle at Bu'ath. You know, the battles are named after the places they fought, or after the days they fought. That's how it goes, even with non-Muslim history. They have the famous battle of what? They're going to celebrate soon. Remembrance Day, what you call it. Normandy. Normandy is the place where they fought, right? We have the Battle of Badr, we're going to see Battle of Uhud. All of these are places where they fought. So the Battle of Bu'ath is a place. Aisha says, the day of Bu'ath was a day which Allah presented a gift to His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَقَدِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَقَدْ اِفْتَرَقَ مَلَأُهُمْ. So when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought his da'wah to the people of Medina, they were separated, disintegrated, infighting was very much. وَقُتِلَتْ سَرَاوَتُهُمْ وَجُرِحُوا. And a lot of them and their leaders had been killed. فَقَدَّمَهُ اللَّهُ لِرَسُولِهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم فِي دُخُولِهِمْ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ. So Allah made that day a reason for them. The people of Aus and Khazraj, people of Medina said, we are tired of fighting. Khalas, enough. But they needed something to unite them. They needed something to cure their wounds. They needed something to make them move ahead and forget that. And that was Islam. So they were fighting small fights here and there. But then this great fight happened. That is when right the year after they came to the Prophet ﷺ, they say, you know, we are a people who, there's no one among the Arabs who fight each other like us. So this is very crucial moment of the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. And when Allah wants something, He makes a reason for it. When Allah wants something, He makes a reason for it. And the victor and how the battle went very briefly. Khazraj was winning first, but then the Aus, they turned back, and Hudayr, who was the leader, he who died in there. It is said Aus won, but in fact nobody won because so many of them were killed. And this was in the 10th year, in the end of the 10th year. So right after 6-8 months, the Prophet ﷺ made that first group in Aqabat Mina, the 6 people. They said, this is a solution for us. They went back, they gave da'wah to their people. 5 of them came back, and Jabir ibn Abdullah bin Ka'b, for some reason he did not come, they came with 7 more. These are the people who gave the first pledge of Al-Aqaba, the pledge at Al-Aqaba. Once we have known this, now we go back. So they took the pledge and they left and went back to Medina. And Islam started to spread in Medina slowly. It started to spread in Medina slowly. And the first Jum'ah in Islam as a Jum'ah in Medina was prayed at this time. Salatul Jum'ah, the Friday prayer. This is the hadith reported by Abu Dawood in his Sunan, that Abdullah ibn Ka'b ibn Malik, Ka'b ibn Malik, Ka'b ibn Malik, Ka'b ibn Malik. Memorize that name. That's a great human being. Ka'b ibn Malik. And he was one of the greatest poets of the time. So he was noble. I'm repeating this again. If you're a poet, you are on top of the society. His son, Abdullah, narrates this hadith. He says, كنت قائد أبي بعدما ذهب بصره. I was walking with my father, guiding him because he was blind now, he was old. وكان لا يسمع الآذان بالجمعة إلا قال رحمه الله ورحمة الله على أسعد ibn زرارة. Remember the name we mentioned? As'ad bin Zurara. Whenever Ka'b ibn Malik had the adhan, the call of prayer to Jum'ah, Friday, he would say, may the mercy of Allah be on As'ad ibn Zurara. Every Friday he would say that. So one day I said to him, Ya Abati, oh my father, your dua for Abu Umama As'ad bin Zurara amazes me. Like every Friday you make this dua for him when you hear the adhan. Why do you do that? And he said, Ayya bunayya, oh my son, kana awwalu man jama'a al-jumu'ata bil-madinati. As'ad bin Zurara was the first man who gathered people together to pray the Friday prayer fi harrati, in the neighborhood of Bani Bayada. He said, Father, how many were you then when you started praying the first prayer, first Jum'ah prayer? He said, Arba'una rajulan, 40 men. Now imagine, how many of them came to the Prophet ﷺ and gave the bay'ah? 12. Not the first one, the second one. 12. By the time they go back, they're actually praying Jum'ah, there's 40 of them. So there was others who did not come. So in 1 year, there was none. There was none. When the year passed, there's 40 people who are Muslims, men. You don't even know about their women. Now yes, for us, our numbers today, we live in a world of 8 billion people. 40 is nothing. But then 40 people is a strong group of people. That's why we're going to go through the battles and whatever. You see an army of 1,000 men. That's a great army back then. You understand? So in 1 year, 40 people are Muslims. That is a great achievement. So they were praying Jum'ah. And the one who studied the Jum'ah in Madinah is Abu Umama. That's his kunya. His name is As'ad ibn Zurara radiyallahu anhu. As'ad ibn Zurara. Now while this was happening, when they went back, one narration says some of them, they said, oh Messenger of Allah, send someone to us who can teach us our religion. Send someone who will teach us our religion. One narration says that, Allahu A'lam. In any case, the Prophet ﷺ sent this great man. Sorry, let me correct myself. I did that on purpose. Sent this great young man, what you call today youth. I don't like the word youth. There's nothing called youth. It's a word people made to keep down other people. What we call youth today, back then they were leading the whole world, running the world, changing the world. So the Prophet ﷺ sent this young man called Mus'ab ibn Umair. We have mentioned him, one of the first believers. He was from a wealthy, rich family. Mus'ab was known for one thing only. That's what he was famous for. What was it? What? Yeah. He was fresh and clean. That's how we say it today. He wore the best clothes and he had the best perfume in Mecca. His hair will be combed in the best way. That's how people knew Mus'ab. People didn't know Mus'ab of any other thing. Mus'ab, the one who wears the best clothes and he has the best perfume. And we mentioned how Allah tested him greatly when he became Muslim. A young man of 16, 17 years. Maybe less than that, in fact. How his own mother tried to torture him, locked him up, imprisoned him. To the point that when they saw Mus'ab now, they said, this is the same man? Rugged clothes, torn clothes. But everybody was tested because of his Islam. Our point here is, we are on page 187. We are on page 187. After the pledge in the form of an oath had been taken, the Prophet ﷺ sent to Yathrib a young man called Mus'ab ibn Umair radiyallahu anhu al-Abdari, the first Muslim ambassador. They call him an ambassador, to teach the people the doctrines of Islam, give them practical guidance, and make attempts at propagating Islam among those who still professed polytheism. That's what you call a protocol. His agenda, his mission. Go teach the Muslims their deen, and those who are not Muslims, give them da'wah, call them to Allah. Call them to Allah. As'ad ibn Zurara hosted him in Medina. He became a guest of As'ad ibn Zurara, radiallahu anhu. So prepared was the ground, and so zealous the propagation that Islam spread rapidly from house to house and tribe to tribe. Because there's already 40 men in Medina. And those 40 men have now prepared the ground. The Prophet ﷺ is sending an actual scholar now to teach them. To teach them. So if they could do that in 1 year, there's 40 men. Imagine having an alim behind them, a scholar behind them, who also is calling to Allah. So Islam spread fast, quickly, to a people who, remember, psychologically, emotionally, they were broken. They needed something. And Islam gives you that. Islam gives you that. There were various cheerful and promising aspects of success that characterized Mus'ab's task. And then he mentioned the story of how these two great people became Muslim. So Mus'ab was sitting there calling people to Islam. Now, that was not the end. The Prophet ﷺ sent Mus'ab bin Umair, and right after, he sent someone called Abdullah ibn Makhtum. No, he's not Emirati. Don't ask me that. Abdullah ibn Makhtum. We mentioned this guy before. You remember him? No, we didn't. Adhan is not yet there. That was the class in the university, sister, not here. We said Abdullah ibn Maktum, he was a distant cousin of Khadija, and he was blind. We mentioned, Very good. We mentioned him in the story of Abasa wa Tawalla, when the Prophet ﷺ was preaching to the Sanadidu Quraysh, the leaders of Quraysh, the criminals, the terrorists. And he was coming, he was a blind man, he doesn't know what's happening. He says, "Oh Messenger of Allah, teach me, allimni." And the Prophet ﷺ is talking to these leaders who never listen. So the Prophet frowned and turned from him. Abasa wa tawalla. We talked about that story. This is the man. So the Prophet ﷺ also sent him to teach people Islam. Showing you that in Islam, physical handicap is not a deterrent to anything which is good, to greatness. Let alone your tribe or your color or how short or big or fat, whatever it is you are. You know, some of us, we have the psychological barrier in us. You need to remove that. Greatness in Islam is what you can do for Islam, how sincere you are to Allah. This is Abdullah ibn Maktum, he's blind. The Prophet ﷺ sends him to teach the people of Madinah. And before him, the Prophet ﷺ sends an 18, 19-year-old young man. It's not how old, how young, whatever tribe you come from, no. It's are you ready to do this for Allah or not? If you are, that is your task, that is your job. You qualify. You qualify. Every day, right now we're reading. This hadith is by Abu Dawood. This hadith is by Bukhari. Bukhari was not an Arab. Muslim was not an Arab, even though some scholars try to argue that. No, they were not. His great-grandfather was not even a Muslim, Bukhari. Yet he became the greatest scholar of hadith in Islam. And nobody can be a Muslim today. You cannot practice Islam unless you go through his book, which he collected, after putting so much effort. Greatness is there, it's waiting for you, but what are you going to do about it? We live in a world where we've been brainwashed, conditioned to be so timid. We're so timid. Think that I can't do anything unless, I become the president of the board of the Masjid, and I'm 45 years old, and I have 5 degrees. And Relax yourself. Come on, leave that talk. That is some, pardon my language, but some rubbish talk. Mus'ab bin Umair is 18. He is sent to teach the world in Madinah. Abdullah ibn Maktum is blind. He is sent, go, help Mus'ab. This is very important. You mothers, you fathers, this is the things you should be telling your children. Condition them to be great leaders of tomorrow. Condition them to be heroes of tomorrow. This is what has happened to our ummah. Ibn Kathir and Ibn Taymiyyah and Bukhari and Muslim and Ahmad and whoever it is, Abu Hanifa, they were born human beings just like us. They had to eat just like us. But they had mothers, most of them mothers. Ahmad was an orphan. Shafi'i was an orphan. Malik was an orphan. Abu Hanifa was an orphan. They grew up with their mothers. But their mothers used to prepare them. Yalla, get dressed. The mother of Malik used to tell him, get dressed and go to Rabi'a and learn his manners before you learn his knowledge. Ahmad will get dressed. His mom will get him dressed the best clothes. He's ready to go out at Fajr. His mom will say, wait, it's too dark. Now go, learn hadith, become a great one. If you, the parent, do not show your child that you can become great, you can become something, the world outside is not going to tell him that. This is very important. Anyway, the Prophet ﷺ sent out Mus'ab ibn Umair. And then after him, Abdullah ibn Maktum. And they were hosted by As'ad ibn Zurara, the first man to hold the Jum'ah in Madinah. Mus'ab used to give his da'wah, while at the same time teach the Muslims. Now obviously the people of Madinah, they are idol worshippers like the people of Makkah. So some of them did not like this new thing. And they had the same rhetoric like the people of Makkah. Oh, these people came here to change us. They came here to change our religion. So one day, this is a great story of one of the greatest people we learn about, to show the success of the da'wah of Mus'ab ibn Umair. One day, Mus'ab and As'ad ibn Zurara, they were on their way to the locality, the neighborhood of Bani Abd Ashhal and Bani Zafar. When they went into the premises of the latter clan, meaning the neighborhood, they sat near a well, conversing, meaning talking with some new converts to Islam. They were teaching them the religion. Or they were actually giving da'wah to people to come to Islam. While this was happening, someone left and went to these two people. One is called Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, and the other one is called Usayd ibn Hudayr, who we mentioned his father was the leader of the Khazraj, Hudayr. These are two of the greatest companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh and Usayd ibn Hudayr, and they were the chiefs of the two clans, Bani Abd Ashhal and Bani Zafar. So when they heard that, oh, those Muslim guys, that's how people say today, those Muslim guys, they are giving da'wah to your people, they became angry. They became angry. That guy who came from Makkah, Mus'ab bin Umair, of course, he's being hosted by As'ad bin Zurara. They are teaching your people Islam. They're going to change their religion. So what happened? So Usayd ibn Hudayr, he said to Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, let's go deal with them. But Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, he said that, I cannot go confront As'ad because As'ad is actually my cousin. We are same family, we can't fight. You go though. These are the chiefs of two tribes. So Usayd ibn Hudayr, he went out with his spear in his hand, ready to fight. When he reached there, he was swearing, cursing, and he accused the two men, Mus'ab and As'ad bin Zurara, that you are fooling our people of weak heart and that you should stop talking to people about Islam and this and that. Angry as he is. Mus'ab bin Umair, this young man, he said to him, calmly, he invited him, he said, why don't you sit and hear what I have to say? There's no need for violence. Why don't you sit and hear what I have to say? If you're pleased with my words, with our talk, you can accept it. And should you hold it as disgusting, if you find our words are not good, you could freely immunize yourself against what you hate. That's very bad English, but basically it's saying, you don't have to follow it, just leave it. Isn't that fair? We talked about rifq yesterday, gentleness and kindness in da'wah. The man is coming with a spear, ready to kill and fight. Mus'ab says calmly, let's be fair. Sit and hear what I have to say. If it's good for you. If it's not, okay, we'll just leave and you can save yourself from it. So Usayd ibn Hudayr, being a leader, he said, that's fine, or it's actually fair. So he sat. He pierced his lance in the sand, his spear. He put his spear on the ground. He put his spear on the ground. Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu started to recite some verses of the Quran to him. Usayd ibn Hudayr, his face beamed with satisfaction and pleasure before uttering any words of approval. He asked the two men about the procedures related to embracing Islam. He said, what do I do if I want to become Muslim? I want you to pay attention to this. We talked about this with the Prophet ﷺ meeting the people also, many of them. They recited the Quran to people and used only few of their own words. And that was enough to make people Muslim. And that is enough to make people Muslim today. This Quran is enough. Yes, sometimes you'll need to do it in your language because someone doesn't understand Arabic. But it is enough. You know, most of us, we think to do da'wah, I have to study all these volumes. No, you don't. Just know the Quran. Know the message of the Quran. He recited to him some Quran. Usayd bin Hudayr says, how do I become Muslim? They say to him, they asked him to observe washing, meaning you have to do ghusl. Go and take a ritual bath and wash your clothes and say the Shahada. I bear witness that there is no true God who deserves to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. And they said, and after that, pray the prayer of 2 rak'ahs. We'll show you how to pray 2 rak'ahs. He did that, he responded, and did exactly what he was asked to do. And then he said to them, listen, you know how all of this happened? I was with my friend, man, and he's waiting for me. He's waiting for me. Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh. And if he became Muslim, listen, he said to them, if he became Muslim, nobody of his tribe will refuse. Nobody of his tribe will refuse. Everybody will follow him. So he left and went back to Sa'ad. Immediately Sa'ad understood that Usayd had changed. When he saw him coming, he said, okay, he's changed. So to a question posed by Sa'ad, Usayd radiallahu anhu said, he asked him, what happened? He said, the two men were ready to comply with whatever orders you're going to give them. Usayd used hikmah with him. Sa'ad bin Mu'adh says, what happened? He says, I went and talked to them, those people who are taking your people, and they're ready to listen to you. Because you're the chief. They're ready to listen to you. So you should go and talk to them. So he took him with him, and they went and saw Mus'ab bin Umair and As'ad ibn Zurara, who is his cousin. That is his cousin. And the same thing happened. Mus'ab called him to Islam, recited the Quran to him. He became Muslim. Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, he went and he took a bath the same evening. And that is the nur of Iman once it enters the heart. The same evening, he went back to his people. Bani Abdul Ashhal is one of the great tribes of Madinah. He said to them, Ya Bani Abdul Ashhal, Kalami alaykum haram. I will not speak to any of you. Imagine your chief tells you that. I will not speak to any one of you. It's haram for me to speak to any of you unless you all become Muslims. The same evening, by tomorrow, the whole tribe was Muslim. Women, men, and children. Women, men, and children. It says, hardly the evening of that day arrived when all the men and women of that group of Arabians embraced Islam, with the exception of one of his tribe. Only one person refused. His name is Usayrim. And this Usayrim, subhanAllah, he has a story. All of them became Muslim except Usayrim, radiallahu anhu. You have heard about Usayrim, you just don't know his name. He became Muslim just before the Battle of Uhud. He is that Sahabi you have heard of his story. When he came and was asked, are you a Muslim? He said, no. He said, no, we cannot take you to fight with us. He said, then I believe. He took his Shahada. He went, he fought, and he was killed as a Shaheed. He didn't even pray one prayer for Allah. That is Usayrim. And the Prophet ﷺ said what? He did a little, but his reward is great. So Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, through him, his whole tribe became Muslim. Usayd ibn Hudayr, most of his tribe became Muslim. Now our tribe has how many people? Hundreds. So you can see how fast Islam is growing now. And numbers are power during that time. And these are the chiefs, remember. So now the Quraysh in Makkah, they are hearing these words. Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, the chief of Bani Abd Ashhal, and Usayd bin Hudayr, the chief of Bani Zafar, all of them have become Muslim. This was a great, great preparation for Islam. Mus'ab bin Umair, radiallahu anhu, he continued doing his work in Madinah, calling people to Islam. Calling people to Islam. Until most of the houses of the Ansar became Muslim. It says here, Mus'ab stayed in Medina carrying out his mission steadily and successfully until all the houses of the Ansar, why are they called Ansar? We'll mention this after. But the people of Medina are called Ansar. They had Muslim elements, men and women. Like almost every house now had a Muslim. Maybe it's not the whole house, but at least there's someone who's a Muslim. Only one family refused the Islamic da'wah. They were under the influence of the poet called Qais ibn Aslat, who managed to hold them from accepting Islam until the 5th year. And Mus'ab stayed there. This is the whole of the 12th year. The 13th year came in now. And just before the Hajj season of the 13th year, Mus'ab came back to Makkah. He came back to Makkah. And he gave the Prophet ﷺ the great news. The Prophet, in fact, asked him, what have you done, Mus'ab? He said, this house and this house and this chief and that chief, they have become Muslim. They have become Muslim. While this is happening, let's go back to Makkah. While this is happening, the torture, persecution, abuse of Muslims was continuing. And they are making fun and jesting of the Prophet ﷺ did not stop. You know, again, we cannot mention every verse, but again, those verses of the Quran, they tell you what used to happen in Makkah. They used to call the Prophet, they used to torture him physically and psychologically, emotionally. So they'll say, you're just a kahin, you're just a sorcerer. They'll say he's majnoon, he's crazy, don't listen. They say sahirun kadhab, a magician is just a liar. Like I said here, most of us, if someone just call you a name which is worse, way less than someone calling you a liar, crazy, sorcerer, you know, you go out at home and cry, close your room and cry. The Prophet ﷺ, this was every day. They used to call him names. And they used to physically abuse him, as we have known. And they used to challenge him, like we know. So one day, they said to the Prophet ﷺ, and I'm saying again, even though this happened a lot, this one stands out. Just like all the other nations before, they used to challenge their prophets and say to them, what? If you're truthful, bring us a miracle. We'll believe you. Do something extraordinary, supernatural, that a human being cannot do. We'll believe you. So we know the famous event of when the moon split. When the moon split. And this is affirmed in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins Surah Al-Qamar by mentioning it. انشقت القمر اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر وإن يروا آية يعرضوا ويقولوا سحر مستمر. They said to the Prophet ﷺ, show us a miracle. Show us a miracle. And we know the story of the splitting of the moon. Or do we need to go into details of it? Yes? Some details. طيب. They said, give us a sign. If you show us a sign, we'll believe. We'll believe. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you see the moon. It's the same moon you've been seeing all these years. Today, it's going to be split into half. Now, we need to pause and use our minds and try to digest that. You've been seeing the moon since you are born. Today, it's going to split in two. There's no clearer sign than that. What else do you need? How does the moon split in two? So the Prophet ﷺ, he asked Allah for that, and the moon was split. In fact, the books of Seerah, they said, it wasn't split such that it's two parts which are here. No. They can say, maybe my eyes, are not working properly today. No. One part was here, and there was a mountain, they said, between, and there was another part there. The moon became two moons. They saw it. They saw it. Ibn Mas'ud said, the Prophet ﷺ showed them this while we are at Madinah, the place called Madinah, and the moon split. And he said to them, Ishhadu, witness. So they went on top of the mountain and they looked at it and they saw that the moon had split. But they did not ask for a sign because they really wanted a sign. It was just juhud and istikbar. It was just being obstinate and it's just arrogance. Just like the people of Nuh said to Nuh, show us a sign. Just like the people of Ad said to Hud, show us a sign. Just like the people of Thamud said to Salih, show us a sign. All of them. So when they saw that, Allah says, اقتربت الساعة, the hour has come close. And what happened? وَشَقَّ الْقَمَرُ, the moon was split. But وَإِن يَرَوْا آيَةً, when they see a sign, يُعْرِضُوا, they turn away. وَيَقُولُوا, they say, سِحْرٌ مُسْتَمِرٌ, it's just the same magic you're doing, Muhammad. وَكَذَّبُوا, and they denied. وَاتَّبَعُوا أَهْوَاءَهُمْ, they followed their desires. This was one. And there were other signs which they were shown. They said to the Prophet ﷺ, if you can turn this mountain into gold, we will all believe in you. A mountain is rocks, sand, dust. There's nothing there. You don't even want to go there. They said, turn it into gold. Now, you women can understand gold. If you have 50, 100 grams of gold, you ball it, right? You're rich. 100 grams of gold? Yeah, you're up there. خلي يجلس. اجلس حبيبي. What about a mountain of gold? 1 kilogram of gold is easily $50,000. 50,000, 1 kilogram. How many kilograms does a mountain have? 100,000 tons maybe? They said if you turn it into gold, we'll believe. And Allah sent Jibril. He said, tell them Muhammad, if they don't believe, Allah will destroy them just like He destroyed Aad and Thamud. Because they said the same thing, show us a sign. And when they did not believe, Allah destroyed them. So tell them, if they do not believe, Allah will destroy them. Do they agree to that? And they said, no, we don't agree. Because they knew it was the truth. And they used to say so many things. Those of you who have read the Quran, you know that. That is what is very important for us Muslims to be close to the Quran, always reading it. They said what? مَا لِهَذَا الرَّسُولِ يَأْكُلُ الطَّعَامَ وَيَمْشِي فِي الْأَسْوَاقِ. What kind of prophet are you? You eat food just like us, and you go into the marketplace to buy and sell just like us. Allah said what? Every prophet was said was just like that also. It's not like you. They said what? لولا تفجر لنا من الأنهار لولا تفجر لنا. What does the verse say? Basically they said, why don't you bring about rivers which can come from the rocks? أو تسقط علينا كسفا من السماء. Or you should command the clouds to fall on us. Then we'll believe you. أو تأتينا بالله والملائكة قبيلا. Oh, you know what? If you want us to believe you, you should tell Allah to come and a group of angels to come. We see them, we'll believe. All of these things they asked. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to say to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say to them, قُلْ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّي هَلْ كُنْتُ إِلَّا بَشَرًا رَسُولًا. I'm just a message of Allah. You're asking me to bring the clouds down? So they used to challenge the Prophet ﷺ like that. Just like you today, you are being challenged. People challenge you. Okay, this deed of yours, prove it to us. But he stood firm. And he continued preaching what he was supposed to preach, the truth. So, at this moment, now we said Mus'ab bin Umair came back. Now we are in the 13th year, and it's the season of Hajj again. 13th year, it is the season of Hajj. They said we stop at 3:30 or 4 o'clock? 4. How many of them came last year? The people of Medina who came for Hajj? 12. And they took the bay'ah. This time we are on page 189. We are on page 189. Where's your book? Can you get a book and read? I'm starting to lose my voice now. Please. It says, the next year, the 13th of Prophethood, the 13th year, during the pilgrimage season, Hajj season, over 70 converts from Medina came along with the polytheist people to perform the rituals of pilgrimage in Mecca. So the people of Medina came to do their Hajj. Those who are Muslims were among them, and those who are not Muslims were among them. They came to do the Hajj. The oft-repeated question among them was, isn't it in high time we protect Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam instead of leaving him abandoned, deserted, and stumbling in the hillocks of Mecca? The Muslims now, they're saying themselves in Medina, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being tortured. Our Prophet is being oppressed. He's being chased out into the hillocks of Mecca. Why don't we stand up and defend him? It's time. This was how long after they were Muslims? Most of them? 2 years. or 3 years, some of them, or some of them 1 year. They said, why don't we stand up for Islam? Why don't we stand up for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Please sit and don't do any distractions. It's very destructive. Please, if you want to talk, go outside. So now it was 70 of them. It was 70 of them. When they arrived after the Hajj, the day of Al-Nahr, you slaughter, then comes the days of Mina. So people are in Mina, sitting in Mina. They conducted secret contacts with the Prophet ﷺ, and they agreed to meet him secretly at night during the middle of the Tashriq days, the 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th day of Dhul Hijjah. The first day after Eid, the second day after Eid, the third day after Eid for us. At the hillock, like we said, Aqaba is a small hill or a huge stone, rock. Same place where last year's meeting happened, where the 12 of them gave the bay'ah like the bay'ah of women. So they said, this year we'll meet you at this time at the same place. But how many are they now? Imagine, what is the percentage of growth? Those of you who are good with math, from 12 to 70. Yalla bismillah, quickly. What is the percentage of growth from 12 to 70? Almost 600%. So that is good business, isn't it? If someone told in 1 year you will get 600%, that business doesn't exist. Or maybe Bitcoin. Where are the Bitcoin people? These guys were up last night talking to me about Bitcoin. Anyway, 600% in 1 year, that is a great success. So, one of the leaders of the Ansar, I told you, memorize this name, Ka'ab ibn Malik. Remember Ka'ab ibn Malik? He narrated the story of what? How As'ad bin Zurara was the first man to establish Jum'ah in Madinah. And he was one of the leaders. It was a great point. Ka'ab ibn Malik. And inshallah, as we go through the Seerah, we're going to go through his story. It's one of the greatest stories ever in Islam. A man who until today we read verses of the Quran which are about him. Anyway, one of the leaders of the Ansar, Ka'ab ibn Malik al-Ansari, he gave an account of the historic meeting which changed the whole course of the struggle between Islam and paganism. He said, read please. Without a mic, it's fine. Now, he says, we planned the meeting. That was the day, that was the place. The meeting day came. We were accompanied by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Haram. He is a man, you should memorize his name. Why? Because he got a status which very few Muslims will ever get. Now this is the father of that famous Jabir ibn Abdullah. When you hear those hadith, this hadith reported by Jabir ibn Abdullah. I have told you, some of you come to the classes at the university, I have told you so many stories of Jabir ibn Abdullah. The one who went and got married to an older woman, and he was a young man. The Prophet ﷺ said, why you get married to an older woman? But he was smart enough, he said, my father died. This is his father, Abdullah bin Haram. And he left behind 8 sisters for me. I have 8 sisters. If I married a young woman, I will have 9 sisters now. It's just another young girl in the home. So I married an older woman so she can help me taking care of my sisters. And the Prophet ﷺ made dua for him. May Allah bless you. Look how smart he was. That is Jabir ibn Abdullah. This is his father, Abdullah bin Haram. But look, Abdullah bin Haram was not a Muslim yet here. Read. See what they call him? Abu Jabir, the father of Jabir. Now,
you are certainly one of our most respected and noble of our nobility. We do not want you to be fuel for the fire tomorrow. We want you to accept Islam and inform them of the meeting with Allah.
They say to him, we don't want you to be one of the fuel of the fire. you should believe. You're one of the most respectable people. You know that this is the truth. And this shows you, Khwani, da'wah, like we said, sometimes da'wah goes with targheeb, encouraging someone. This is what the benefit of Islam is. And sometimes you need to warn someone. If you don't believe, there's a punishment for you. Human beings were like that. The reward system. Now, so he accepted Islam and he came to the meeting with us. Now, and look, because he was so noble within the Madinah community, they said, you'll be our leader, even though you are Muslim for one day. They had respect for people who are older, people who are wiser. Now,
I said, that very night we slept with our people in our camp. After the night had elapsed, we began to leave quietly, met in a hillock nearby.
so they slept with their fellow Madinah people just like normal, because the others were not Muslims yet. So they acted like they were sleeping also. When everybody had slept, they snuck out slowly, to go and meet the Prophet ﷺ. Because again, this is Mecca. If you are Muslim, you are going to be killed probably, or you'll have problems with the Quraysh. Lam.
There were 73 men plus 2 women.
73 men and 2 women. Who are the 2 women? You should memorize these names of these 2 great women. Nusayba bint Ka'b. She was known as Umara. Umara. And she was from the tribe of Bani Maz ibn Najjar. And Asma bint Amr, Muni' from the tribe of Banu Salama. These 2 women are pioneers, as you see. Now,
We gathered in the hillock waiting for Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam until he came in the company of Al-Abbas and fire.
we waited in the hillocks until the Prophet ﷺ came in the company of his uncle Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, who
Was active for following the religion of his people, yet he loved to be present for the matters of his nephew. He was the
Al-Abbas came with the Prophet ﷺ. Because again, this is his nephew. And even though he was not Muslim, Al-Abbas was always inclined to Islam. He never used to show enmity to the Prophet ﷺ, unlike his brothers. Who are his brother? Abu Lahab, who used to torture the Prophet ﷺ. Now,
all people of Khazraj. The Arabs used to call the Ansar Khazraj.
look at this great speech that Al-Abbas he gave to the Ansar now who came. 73 of them. And 2 women. Look at the speech he's going to give to them.
Whether from Khazraj or Aus, all of you know the position that Muhammad sallallahu
The Arabs, he said, all people of Khazraj, but we know that people of Madinah are Aus and Khazraj. But they would use Khazraj because it's the bigger tribe. It's because it's the bigger tribe.
all of you position that
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
we have protected him from our people as much as we could. He is honored and respected among the people. Join any party except you. So, you think you can carry out what you promised while inviting him to your town? If you can defend him against the enemy and assume the burden that you have taken. If you are going to surrender him, betray him after having taken him away with you, you had better leave him now. He is respected and well defended.
He said to them, all of you know the position that Muhammad ﷺ holds amongst us. Basically, he has decided to join you. So if you are really going to defend him, then do that. But if not, leave him where he is right now. He is talking like a Muslim. Now,
Ka'ab replied,
so Ka'ab ibn Malik, he got up and he said,
we have heard your words. Now, O Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it is for you to speak and take from the pledge that you want regarding rewarding yourself.
Ka'ab said, we have heard your speech, O Al-Abbas. فَتَكَلَّمْ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ, O Messenger of Allah, you speak now.
With a definite response showing full determination, courage, and deep faith to shoulder the great and some responsibility and very serious consequences. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam then preached the faith and the pledge.
The Prophet ﷺ recited the Quran to them. He spoke about Islam briefly, and then he said, "Tubayu'ni, you are going to give me the pledge. على السمع والطاعة في النشاط والكسل." Now look at the difference between this pledge and the pledge of last year. You are going to give me the pledge that you are going to listen and obey me in times of ease and times of difficulty. وعلى النفقة في العسر واليسرى, and that you are going to give in charity for Allah, whether it's times you have so much wealth or you don't have so much wealth. وعلى الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر, you are going to be people who, when you see good, you command people to do good, you encourage people to do good. When you see evil, you are going to speak against it and say to people, don't do this evil. وعلى أن تقولوا في الله لا يأخذكم في الله لومة لائم, and you are going to speak for Allah's sake whenever you need to speak. You are not going to fear the blame of the blamers. You're not going to fear the blame of the blamers as long as it is pleasing to Allah. وَعَلَىٰ أَن تَنْصُرُونِي إِذَا قَدِمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ يَثْرِبًا, and that you are going to support me, aid me, help me when I come to you in Yathrib. فَتَمْنَعُونِي مِمَّا تَمْنَعُونَ مِنْهُ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجَكُمْ وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَلَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. You're going to defend me the way you'll defend your own children and your own selves and your own wives. And when you do that, Allah has promised you Jannah. So here read the articles of the pledge.
Imam Ahmed recorded that Jabir radiallahu anhu narrated. He said, O Messenger of Allah, what shall we pledge? Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam answered, for one, listen and obey in all difficulties.
Read.
Two,
This is just what I have told you now.
two, with strength and plenty as well as discretion. Three, to enjoin good and forbid evil. Four, in Allah's service you will fear a censor of none.
The censor of none.
Censor of none. Five, to aid me when I come to you and protect me from enemy. Protect yourself, your spouses, and children. Paradise is
You see how different it is from the other one. Why is it so different? Now it's becoming serious. Now you know Iman. You know that you won't commit shirk, you won't steal, you won't commit zina. That is established. Now there's things we need to move on to. Step by step. That is how people are taught the deen. That is how people build their Iman. It is very important like that. Very important. Very important. In another version, it was reported by Ibn Ishaq that Ka'b said, read.
Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam cited some Quranic verses, called people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, encouraged them to Islam, included saying, I give you my pledge, and you protect me from whatever you protect your woman.
So he said what he had to say, the Prophet ﷺ. When it finished, Al-Bara ibn Ma'rur, radiallahu anhu, he caught him by the hand and he said, "O Messenger of Allah," he said, "Na'am, walladhi ba'athaka bil-haqq." We swear by Allah who has sent you as a prophet in truth. لَنَمْنَعَنَّكَ مِمَّا نَمْنَعُ مِنْهُ أُزُرَنَا. We will protect you from whatever we protect our women and our families from. We'll make you just like our family. فَبَايَعْنَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. So give us your pledge. وَنَحْنُ أَهْلُ الْحُرُوبِ وَأَهْلُ الْحَلْقَةِ وَرِثْنَاهَا كَابِرًا عَنْ كَابِرٍ. Because we, by Allah, we are genuine fighters and quite reliable in war. Meaning, in terms of strength and fighting, don't have any worries. We are people like that. It is a characteristic we pass down to us from our ancestors. When he said this, Al-Bara bin Ma'rur, Abu al-Haytham ibn Tayhan was one of the first 6 people who came. Abu al-Haytham ibn Tayhan, look what he said. What did he say? He interrupted Al-Bara bin Ma'rur and said, O Messenger of Allah. He said, O Messenger of Allah, Inna baynana wa bayna al-rijali ya'ni al-yahuda hibala. O Messenger of Allah, before we give you the pledge of allegiance, we have, between us and the Jews, there are agreements which we have already. So we are going to cut them because they won't agree with you. Meaning we are choosing you over them. we are going to sever, meaning we're going to cut the agreements we had with the Jews. So, look what he said, Abu al-Haytham ibn Tayhan. If Allah grants you power and victory after you come to us, if Allah grants you power and victory, should we expect you that you will not leave us and join the ranks of your people, meaning you'll move back to Mecca to the Quraysh? And then we'll be left alone, and now we have to fight the Jews? You see what he's saying to the Prophet ﷺ? He said, we have ties with the Jews now, but we are going to cut them those, we're going to cut those, and now we are with you. But we want to know, maybe you'll come to us once you become strong, you move back to your people in Mecca. The Prophet ﷺ, he smiled and said, بل الدم الدم والهدم الهدم أنا منكم وأنتم مني أحارب من حاربتم وأسالم من سالمتم. The Prophet ﷺ said, nay, it won't be like that. Your blood is my blood now. In life and death, I will be with you. I will fight those you fight, and I will make peace with those who you make peace. Meaning, I am from you and you are from me. We are one. When the Prophet ﷺ said this, page, next page, 192. Now, read.
After the event dealing with the conditions of allegiance ended, all of the audience
Actually, when he said that, then now Al-Bara bil Ma'rur, he said to the Prophet ﷺ, then give us your hand, we'll pledge allegiance. You are with us. You are with us. And they pledged allegiance to him. Now, before that or after that or during that, read.
all of the audience were
Unanimously.
agreed to. Two men of the early generation of converts that embraced Islam 7 years rose to them to explain the others of the serious step they were about to take, that they could give their pledge fully aware of the whole affair. Consequently, be ready for the sacrifice to respect it.
After they had given the pledge of allegiance, these two men who were from those 6 and from those 12, they stood up. They stood up and said these words to their people. Now,
They gathered for the pledge, and Abbas ibn Ubadah,
Al-Abbas ibn Ubadah ibn Nadla, we mentioned him. He stood up and said to his own people now, the 73 people and 2 women from the Ansar.
you know the significance of the pact for entering with the men.
يا معشر الخزرج هل تدرون على ما تبايعون هذا الرجل? Do you know what you are going into? The significance of what you're doing?
You are in fact affirming that you will fight against various people.
إنكم تبايعونه على حرب الأحمر والأسود من الناس. You are affirming that because he is someone people are fighting. People want to kill him. You are saying, we are with you. We are declaring war. We are with you.
Fear that your property will be at risk or the lives of your nobles will be in danger, and leave him now.
Subhanallah, what a great speech. He said, if you fear, وإن كنتم ترون أنكم إذا نهكت أموالكم مصيبة وأشرافكم قتلا أسلمتموه فمن الآن. He said, if you fear that your property will be at risk or the lives of your nobles will be in danger, and you will then back out or back off from helping him, he says, فَمِنَ الْآن, then stop right now. He said what? He said, leave him now. Don't give him this promise. Don't give him this promise. Leave him now.
Because if you do this, after the pledge will be degrading for you both in this world and the world.
Because if you betray the Prophet ﷺ after you've given this pledge, that will be degrading for you. خِزْيٌ فِي هَذِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ.
But if you think that you can carry out what you are called upon to do in spite of the loss of the precious lives and the property, undertake this heavy responsibility. Swear by Allah that herein lies the good of this world and that of the next. They replied, we have already considered the loss of property and the murder of
Of our notables.
yet we pay him allegiance. But what is our reward? We observe all the items of this pact.
Al-Abbas ibn Nadla, he was telling them the consequences of what they're doing. This is what is going to happen. You are sacrificing. This is what the religion needed then, and it still needs now. Do you agree? They said, yes, we have considered that. That's why we agreed. But then they said, oh Messenger of Allah, actually when we do this, what do we get? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Jannah, paradise. Allahu Akbar. Jannah, simple. Paradise is in store for you. They said, extend your hand again. We'll give you the bay'ah. We're with you. This is called the second pledge of Al-Aqaba. And this is one of the most important events ever. Because now, again I'm saying, you see the difference between this pledge and the previous one. Now they have declared openly, we are with you, you are with us. We are ready to stand against everything and anyone. Now they are ready. In the narration of Jabir, he said,
started pledge allegiance. Sa'ad ibn Umar took his hand and said, take it easy, O people of Yathrib. We have not covered that long distance except because we have had deep belief that the Prophet Muhammad
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam
is the messenger of Allah. We are already convinced that following him includes departure of the pagan Arabs, even if it were at the risk of our life. Should you enter this course, hold fast to it. Your great reward is placed in the hand of Allah. But if you are caught in fear, I advise you to give it up just now. Then you will be more excusable by Allah.
so they took the pledge, to summarize it. And as you see, they're taking the pledge after approving of the articles of the pledge. As'ad bin Zurara, he said, stretch out your hand for us. And they pledged. And they said that he was the first man to pledge, As'ad bin Zurara, radiallahu anhu. Now when they did that, the last sentence says what? With respect to the women, the two women who are there, what are their names? Nusayba and Umara. Umara. Asma bint what? Amr. Once they did that, how did the women pledge for allegiance? Can you stop talking, please? How did the women pledge allegiance? Did they also put their hands in the hand of the Prophet ﷺ? It says it was taken orally. They just had to give the confirmation verbally. Because the Prophet ﷺ had never shaken hands with a woman who's a strange lady, meaning who's not his mahram. And that was ever his custom, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When they had done that, the Prophet ﷺ then asked the group to appoint 12 people. There are 73 with two women. He said, appoint for me 12 people because they come from different tribes. Appoint for me 12 people to represent your people. And they will be responsible in regard to these articles of the bay'ah you have given me. There has to be management. There has to be representatives. He said, let 12 men, next page, 194, come, now, read.
Let 12 men come to me, representatives among you, that they be responsible over the people. Representatives were 9 from
These are some of the greatest companions of the Prophet ﷺ. They are known as what in Arabic? What are these 12 known as? They're known as an-nuqaba or an-nujaba. The 12 chosen ambassadors. The 12 chosen ambassadors. And what are their names? From the people of Khazraj were 9, because again, Khazraj was a bigger tribe compared to Aus. So 9 are from Khazraj and the different families, and 3 from Aus and the different families of Aus. Now read. I'll read the names. Number 1 is the great man we have talked about, As'ad ibn Zurara. As'ad bin Zurara. Next, we have Sa'ad ibn Rabi' ibn Amr. Third, we have Abdullah ibn Rawaha. And all of these people are going to talk about them. Abdullah ibn Rawaha. Next, we have Rafi' ibn Malik ibn Ajlan. And then we have Al-Bara ibn al-Ma'rur. And then we have Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Haram, the father of Jabir, who just became Muslim. You have Ubadah ibn Samit, Sa'ad ibn Ubadah, and Al-Mundhir ibn Amr ibn Khunais from Khazraj. And from Aus, you have Usayd ibn Hudayr, Sa'ad ibn Khaythama, and Sa'd ibn Khaythama and Rifa'a ibn Abdul Mundhir ibn Zubair. The Prophet ﷺ then took the pledge from these 12 now. And he said, you are responsible over your people in matters among them. Now this narration, Allahu A'lam, as it have a chain or not, Allahu A'lam, but it's a narration we'll just mention. A responsibility like that of the disciples of Isa ibn Maryam, and I'm responsible over my people, meaning the Muslims. They agreed to this, and they were about to leave. Again, remember, all of this is in the darkness of the night. It's a secret meeting. While they were leaving to go back to their tents, a shaitan, a devil, screamed, and said what? And said, "O people of Mecca, Muhammad and his youth, they have conspired for war against you." When the Prophet ﷺ said, he heard that, he said, this is Azab, the jinn called Azab, the son of Azyab. He is the jinn of Al-Aqaba. This is where he resides. And he said, Ya Adu Allah, O enemy of Allah, we are leaving you now. And he told the Prophet ﷺ, the Ansar, he said to them, rush back to your tents. When he said that, the people of the Ansar, they said, "O Messenger of Allah." Meaning, they were telling him, and why are you being alerted like this? He said, "Law shi'ta, if you want. Law shi'ta, if you want. Tomorrow, we will take out our swords and fight everybody who's going to stand against you in Mina. We are ready. Tomorrow, if you want, don't be alarmed, don't be scared anymore." They gave the bay'ah already. He said, if you want, tomorrow we'll descend on the people of Mina with our swords. And remember, they are Ansar, people of Madinah, they have been what? Fighting all these years. They're great warriors. The Prophet ﷺ, he said what? La, inni lam umir bihadha ba'd. I have not been told to fight yet. Go back to your people and make it a secret. This is a very important point, which we're going to come back to. They went back to sleep until the morning. In the morning, though, as the devils had talked, the Quraysh started to get what you call rumors today. You know, yesterday Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he met with a group of the Ansar of, the people of Medina. This is what they have been fearing all these years. So they started to inquire until the rumors were strong. So a delegation of them went out and met the leaders of the people of Medina. And they said, we heard that you came here to support Muhammad. And we and you have been good friends all these years. But because some of those leaders were non-Muslims, and the Muslims were keeping quiet, they said, no, we have never done that. How can we do that to you? You are our allies. We never believed in Muhammad. While the Muslims kept quiet, they did not say anything. Why? Because they were told, keep quiet, make it a secret. There's time to talk, and sometimes not talking is the best thing because of the greater benefit. So the Muslims kept quiet, but the Quraysh had a strong feeling that something is happening. Something is happening. When the Muslims and the people of Medina, non-Muslims, left to go back to Medina after Hajj, those rumors were confirmed. They say, you know what, they actually met. But now they could not do anything. This was the end of the 13th year, the beginning of the 14th year. It's not the beginning of the end, it's the beginning of the end in Mecca. It is the beginning of Islam. We're going to continue after you have your lunch and Salat al-Maghrib, inshaAllah. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.